If you want to support the channel, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thank you. What's going on, everybody? Tricks Ridiculous back with another video, and in this one I wanted to talk about the elephant in the room as it relates to the Suicide Squad meta, and that is the burn build. All right, now if you have been climbing the ladder yourself, you've been paying attention to those kind of at the top of the ladder leaderboards, everybody who's serious about climbing the ladder is running the burn build. All right, and I'll get to kind of what it is and why it's good in a second, and kind of show you how it can really be played if that's how you want to play, and really why it's a problem, right? So the reason this is such a powerful build, it's really the only build that you can use in those higher mastery ranks. And the reason is the way Diablo Blaze works, essentially, is it gives a damage over time for 20 seconds, and the enemies tick for 1.5 damage every second. Now, it doesn't say how much it is, but what it actually is its percentage of health based. It's about 5% is what I can tell of the enemy's max health as damage per second. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's all before multipliers, all right? So basically, if you have 1,000% more damage to burning enemies, or even like 500, plus whatever other damage you've got, you can have just general damage, you can have damage while at 50 combo, damage to grunts, damage to brutes, damage while moving, whatever, right? All of those modifiers are going to take place after that 5% of enemy base health, all right? And so this is really why people are able to do so much damage. If you've seen, maybe your favorite streamer, you've noticed they're seeing damage numbers up in the 900 million, over a billion, whatever. Their build is not any different or any better. It's just that they're using the same build on lower masteries as they are on higher masteries, and the ones on higher masteries, they're just facing higher health enemies, right? So that 5% of max health before modifiers is going to be a higher base damage, right? So that's why the build plays the same way on low masteries versus high masteries, right? With any other build, you're probably going to get capped off pretty hard no matter how good your build is. And I've seen a lot of good builds that are not the burn build, but they're going to fall off around maybe mastery 60, 70 if you're lucky, right? If you're going to push any higher than that, you're not going to be able to do it with anything else in the current game, because the enemies are just going to simply be too tanky. They're going to be too tanky where flat damage numbers will not compete, right? And you're going to need the burn damage because it just does based on their percentage of max health. The enemies could have 1,000,000 health, or they could have 100 trillion health. It doesn't matter. You're just going to be doing a percentage of their health as damage and multiplying that percentage. So that is really the short explanation for why this build is the only thing. And if you've seen, over in the actual leaderboards here, you'll see that all of these players up here have all completely maxed out their mastery, right? Level 200 is the highest mastery you can get to, and all of these players have achieved it in a matter of days from release of the game, and they've all done it with the burn build. None of these players are using anything but the burn build, and for the exact reasons that I've stated. So the reason it works, and basically on the flip side of it, you essentially just apply burn, right? Pretty straightforward. You use a Black Mask's Bullet Storm, you use Affliction Strike, you use an Affliction Grenade. That's pretty much the short of it. And then everything else you're using is mostly just damage increases, like Jinx's Lucky Coin and the Turtle Still Force Conduit. The other piece of this that really throws it into whack is this Heatwave's Molten Skin. Now, they probably didn't think that this was going to be as good as it was, but of course it is. Each time you burn an enemy that isn't already burning, it makes you invulnerable to damage for 2 seconds and returns damage back to the attacker. The damage back to the attacker doesn't matter. Obviously, the important thing is you get that 2 seconds of invulnerability, right? So you just keep burning enemies, just keep applying burn to all enemies. They're only going to take, once you apply burn to somebody, they're going to die. They burn for 20 seconds. And like I said, if it's, whatever the modifiers you have, they're going to take, even if they take a couple of seconds to die, once you see that little burn modifier over someone's head, you can just walk away. They're going to die unless one of your AI bots applies a different affliction or something like that. But the other problem is now you're taking no damage, right? So this is the other problem with this build. You know, even if you're playing another build that you're really pushing into like mastery 70, mastery 80 even maybe, eventually the enemies, the damage scaling of the enemies, not just their health, but also the damage they deal back is going to be one-shotting you, right? You're going to be taking too much damage. Again, factor this in, it's just completely invulnerable. It doesn't matter if the enemies do 100,000 times their normal damage, you just take nothing, right? So you pair the Heat Wave's Molten Skin with just spreading burn everywhere, and that's the build. It's a two-piece build, really. I mean, everything else here is really just support and just making it work smoother. But it's really the Heat Wave's Molten Skin and the Black Mass Bulletstorm can completely set this build up pretty much by themselves, right? So that's pretty much it. Now, obviously, this is going to get nerfed, and I hate to be that guy to, you know, I'm not trying to call for nerfs or say something's too good, but this is clearly an oversight, right? I mean, having percentage-based damage will always be the best thing because it will constantly scale up. Like you saw, the max mastery rank currently is 200, and everyone hit that playing this burn build pretty much days after the game came out. Even if the top mastery was 1,000, 10,000, it wouldn't matter. People would still hit it no matter how high the enemy health or damage scale, because this build just scales with the enemy health, right? If it's just doing a percentage of health, it doesn't matter how much health the enemies have, it's still just going to do a percentage of it. So you're just going to keep seeing bigger numbers. And then on the flip side, you're completely immortal, right? So it doesn't matter how much damage the enemies are actually dealing back because you're taking none of it. So a little bit of an oversight here. This is obviously something that's going to get nerfed. Now, I say this, you know, as you're playing the game currently, if you're looking to climb the ladder, definitely use this build. Obviously, it's the only thing you really can use. I do expect this to get nerfed, though, probably for season 1, probably like an inter-season nerf. It simply can't exist for another season. It'll be the only thing used again, regardless of, you know, what other new gear comes out. Obviously, the Joker coming out, doesn't matter. This will still just be the best thing, like I said. If they make no changes to it, even if they buff other things, it's not going to matter. This is just going to remain the best thing until they nerf it, just because of how that damage scaling ramps up with enemy health. So in terms of, you know, how I'm playing, like I said, you can see my build here. I'm not going to go through it, but you can do this with Harley, Deadshot, Boomerang. You can do it with all the characters. They all can use this. But basically, I'm going to be focusing on builds that are probably a little more fun. There's really no point in watching any type of build videos that say they can climb the ladder if they're not this exact build using the fire. Any other build you can probably expect to play around like 50 to 60, maybe 70 if it's a really good build, right? And that goes for, you know, myself and other content creators. You know, it's not that's just how it is, right? So that's what I'm going to focus on, because honestly, that's where, unless you're actively trying to grind the ladder, that's where you should probably be playing around anyway. Is mastery 50, you're going to get all of the drops, right? That's kind of where it caps off as far as how many drops you get following post-game rewards. And all of the Bane sets, all 3 tiers, are available at that level. You're already well past that. So you can get all the gear, you know, from just playing even at like lower than that. But 50 is pretty much the high. Anything past that, and you're kind of getting diminishing returns, at least on gear versus the effort. And being able to play more unique builds. So that's what I'm going to focus on, is just more fun builds that can still play at an acceptable level without having to try to actually push the master leaderboard. That is, of course, until this gets nerfed, and then we'll have to see, you know, people are going to drop substantially. No one's going to get up to 200 without this build, you know, and then we'll see what kind of the next meta is after that. But that's it for this video. Like I said, that's kind of why it's a problem. I hope you understand after this video why this build isn't just a problem for the long-term health of the game. They simply can't come out with anything different that's going to beat percentage of health damage multiplied. So that's it. Hope they come out with a good solution. I'm not sure what the nerf would be. But, you know, that's for them to figure out. But that's it for me, guys. I hope you learned something. If you did, be sure to like the video, subscribe for more builds coming soon, and I'll see you guys in the next one.